I moved to a quiet neighborhood. Many of my neighbors were elderly, so there weren't many parties or loud social events. Most importantly, my neighborhood was a safe one. Or so I was told. The neighbors even went as far as to say that they'd never seen a cop car in the area. But weird things started happening almost as soon as I moved into my new house. You see, the whole reason I moved here was to be closer to my job and my girlfriend, which before I moved here, were both 2 hours away from me. Seeing as the house was a decent size, 3 floors, was cheap and was closer to the 2 things I love most, I saw no harm in living here. It was all almost too perfect. For a while, a few weeks to be exact, everything was normal. I go to sleep around 10 p.m. every night and wake up at 7 every morning and go to work. My girlfriend frequently visited and often she would spend the night at my house. I say often because she didn't spend every night with me, which admittedly was upsetting, but we weren't married or anything, so I guess we didn't have to live together yet. One night, after a long day of work, I was exhausted, so I decided to go to bed a bit early. I fell asleep almost instantly, seeing as how tired I was, and was sleeping soundly until I woke suddenly at 3 a.m. I opened my eyes slowly and laid there for a moment, trying to figure out what had disturbed my sleep. I then heard a tapping sound coming from the other end of my bedroom. I rubbed my eyes and sat up in bed. I heard the sound again. Tap, tap, tap. I then realized where the noise was coming from. The window that was on the other end of my room. What the hell was tapping on my 3rd floor window at 3 a.m.? At first I thought I was dreaming as I sat there for a few moments after a second round of taps without hearing them again. I yawned and almost laid back down when I heard the sound once more. Tap, tap, tap. I was now wide awake. I felt my heart begin to beat faster in my chest. Other than the tapping, my house was completely silent. I could almost hear my heart beating so loudly in my chest. I didn't know what to do. Should I call the police? I then realized if I did and they came to my house and found nothing, I'd seem like a crazy person and I didn't want to disturb everyone else, who at this hour were most definitely sleeping. I reached over to my nightstand and grabbed my cell phone. I dialed my girlfriend and waited for her to pick up. By this point, I was too scared and confused to even think I'd be disturbing her. She picked up and answered with a groggy, "Hello?" I didn't answer at first because I was still listening for the sound. "I think there's someone tapping on my window." My voice wavered as I spoke. "What?" My girlfriend sounded just as confused as I was. "Your bedroom's on the 3rd floor, right? So no one could be tapping on your window." Just then, I heard the noise again. Tap, tap, tap. I whispered into the phone, "Listen." I held the phone out towards the window. If it sounded again, my girlfriend would most certainly hear it on her end. Nothing but silence filled the room. I had been holding the phone out for what felt like 10 minutes and my arm was getting tired. I heard my girlfriend say something and then I quickly put the phone back up to my ear. "You're probably just imagining things. It's early and you're tired. So go back to sleep. I'll see you tomorrow." She hung up. I sat there for a while longer with the phone up to my ear. Nothing but silence filled the room. I eventually set my phone down on my nightstand and laid back down, and I soon drifted back off to sleep. The next day came and I'd almost completely forgotten about the events of the previous night, until while at work, someone knocked on my office door 3 times. immediately upon hearing the sound, the memories of the night before came rushing back. I remember I still had no idea what had caused the noise. I won't bore you with any details of that day's work, but again, it was a busy day, and by the time I left, I was completely and utterly exhausted. When I got home, I found my girlfriend waiting for me. I had given her a key, so whenever she wanted to come over, she could. She gave me a kiss, and we sat down at the table in the kitchen. We talked about our days and eventually arrived at the topic of last night's incident. My girlfriend asked me if I had remembered calling her at 3 in the morning, and I told her that I had. She told me she thought I was going crazy or something, but I assured her the sound I heard was real. I begged her to spend the night with me, so if the sound were to happen again, she'd be there to witness it for herself. She agreed, and we decided to go to bed. Due to the fact that I was exhausted, albeit a bit scared too, I fell asleep rather quickly, feeling slightly safer due to the fact that I had someone with me. I was suddenly shaken awake by my girlfriend, and I opened my eyes and stared at my alarm clock. The red digits read 2:56 a.m. I slowly turned over my face to my girlfriend and noticed that she was sitting up. Both of her hands were covering her mouth. I quickly sat up and looked at her, and it was dark in the room, but I could make out her face. Her eyes were wide, and she turned to me and pointed at the window. I turned to face it, and then I heard it. Bang, bang, bang. Someone or something was now pounding on my window. Upon each bang, the window frame shook. It seemed like the window could shatter at any moment. We sat there, terrified, as the banging continued in odd intervals. It occurred twice or more before stopping, and once again, the room fell silent. My girlfriend hugged me tightly. She began sobbing quietly. I rubbed her back and tried telling her that everything would be alright. I didn't even believe myself, and I should have called the police, but again, I didn't want to disturb everyone and cause such a big scene so early in the morning. The banging had stopped, so whatever had been there wasn't there anymore. We laid back down, my girlfriend still in my arms, and we eventually drifted back off to sleep. We both decided to call off work for the next day. We wanted to stay home and keep an eye on things. We went outside and looked at my bedroom window from the lawn. From where we were standing, there appeared to be no signs that anyone had been up there. The screen was intact, and the glass didn't seem to have any fractures of any sort. None of this made sense, though. I knew I wasn't crazy because my girlfriend had heard the noise too, so what was tormenting us night after night? The day dragged on, seeing as neither one of us worked, and we really had nothing better to do but wander around the house aimlessly until nightfall. Finally, dusk rolled around, and we had planned to sleep downstairs that night. The couch I had in the sitting room unfolded into a bed, so we'd sleep down there. So if we happened to hear the loud pounding again, we could rush outside and catch whoever or whatever was doing this. After talking about our plan for a while, we lay down and tried to fall asleep. The mattress was flat, and I had so much on my mind I found it rather hard to sleep. I just wanted this all to stop. As my girlfriend slept quietly by my side, I lay awake, listening closely, waiting for my moment to strike and stop whatever this nightmare was. Eventually my eyes grew heavy and I drifted off to sleep. Crash! I heard the sound of glass shatter on the upper floor. The sound was so loud it jolted me awake, and I instinctively jumped out of the bed. My girlfriend was also jostled awake by the sound, and we grabbed our phones and began darting out of the house. I grabbed a baseball bat I had always kept in my front door as a safety precaution. While my girlfriend called 911, I ran over to where the window was and I looked up. My phone's flashlight was on, and it shined up, and I saw that the window was indeed broken. I could see into my dark room. I ran back over to my girlfriend, and she told me that the police were on their way. Now certain that someone was in my house, we stood on the front lawn, paralyzed, until the police arrived. When they got to the house, they quickly ran inside, bearing their flashlights and guns, and from our spot on the front lawn, we could hear them shouting, "This is the police," and other various phrases they said while searching through the house. After roughly 5 minutes, the officers came back out and informed us that while the window was indeed broken, there was no sign of anyone in the house. It was completely empty. I was beginning to get frustrated. There was no way this house could be empty. There was someone in that house, and there had to be. With no other options at the moment, the 2 officers offered to help us patch up the window for the time being until someone could come fix it. We agreed to let them help, and we went back inside. After that night, we stayed at a local hotel for a few days to catch up on sleep. We just didn't feel safe in that house anymore, despite knowing we'd eventually have to go back. When we did settle back in the house, I finally, after all we'd been through, married my girlfriend, and she moved in shortly thereafter. For a while, nothing happened. We no longer heard pounding or tapping on the window at night, and everything seemed to be normal again. Until last night. The workday had come and gone, and we were both tired, so I went to bed early. I woke up at around 1 a.m., a bit groggy, but downstairs, I swore I heard the sound of footsteps. They weren't loud, just barely audible through the silence. But they were there. We were not alone.